Okay, so in this video, I'm going to create the worker node group, or we can call it managed node group as it's Amazon refers to. So the node group should have the worker nodes so that the workers are where the pods actually and the workloads run. But before creating a worker node, the managed node group, there are a couple of steps are required, and it's clearly mentioned in the Amazon document, and I just followed them exactly as they have mentioned. But basically, what it is that the Amazon VPC CNI plugin, which is already has been created as part of the EKS cluster, so that is CNI is responsible for assigning IP address for the pod because each pod has its own IP address and there is a CNI, there's a CIDR range. So this plugin is assigning those IPs. So it needs to have, so there's a role that needs to be created and a policy needs to be attached, which the details are given in this from your account. But basically, it's giving your CNI to access those because the pods will be running on the nodes, right? So the nodes, so that access is required. So that's the first role created, and another role needs to be created is for your worker node because the worker will basically be an EC2 instance, and that EC2 instance needs to have some access when it's trying to run those. Pods, like it needs to have connections and access to resources and to access to the ECR, which is the container registry, which will pull the images. So this role is required, and it will your EC2 service is the assume role, and once that role is created, I attach two policies to it, which are mentioned over here. So I followed exactly the same. So I can just, if you can see my history, I had after my cluster was ready, the next command I did was AWS EKS update add-on. I had to upgrade my AWS CLI to the latest version of 2 because the earlier one didn't have it. So if there are some errors, just update your AWS CLI using the regular update on your Linux server. And then I gave information about my role, and then the next things I had to do was create a role, the EKS node role, and I attached two policies as mentioned in the document, EKS worker node policy and EC2 container registry. Now it's all there. The next step for me is to this can also be done from CLI, but I want to do from the UI just to make sure that it's more clear, and then it can be done at CLI. And then now I have to just follow these steps and go to my Amazon EKS. So I went to the EKS, my cluster. I have a compute, and I can do a add node group. I can give it whatever name I want. And I have to select an IAM role, which I already created, which is EKS node, which has a write access. I don't want to put any labels. That's what it's saying. So I just give name and the set compute. Yeah, I'll just accept everything as default for now. I don't want to add any labels. I don't want any taints basically, but you can have taints, which is basically it will stop your node to if a node is tainted, a worker node, the pods cannot be deployed to it. And then we can add pod tolerations to have only certain pods running on that. Mostly this is used if you want to run your database uh, pods in a only particular nodes, then you can taint those nodes and then add the tolerations to the pods, but that's a separate topic in itself. So I don't want to do any this. And now I want to choose my Linux, which is my the AMI type, and all this is the regular information. So I am going to just choose the basic free tier. And so there is a lot of good stuff here, which is basically group scaling configuration. So what it is that you can set up the minimum node size, you can max it, you can desire. So in case, and then you can set it up so that the automatic scaling can be enabled in case your load goes higher. So all this can be configured, and I will just choose the basic one. For now, I'll just choose two nodes. I don't want to go over my budget. So I will just choose two. Okay, so the next screen is about the node group network configuration. So I can pick the subnets where I want my worker node group to be. So as you remember, I had major I have two worker nodes from the earlier EC2 running in pub workers, and I have one in running in priv workers. So I'm going to just choose the this one. I don't want any of the other ones. I will just choose this one for now, and I can do configure SSH. I already have a key, so I'm going to specify that. And because I want SSH access for now, but I mean, it's not always required if you're accessing it from outside using the kubectl commands. And security group can be changed later, but I'm going to just choose the one that I have, this one, plus I want to have a default one. And that's it, and I'm going to do next. So I'm ready to create my node group, and I will do a create. It will take a few minutes, and then I'll. Okay, so my EKS worker group is ready. I will go. I went to the clusters, and let me show again. I went to my cluster, and then I can do details on the compute. I can see my EKS worker node. It's active worker group, and now if I see the nodes in there, I see both of my EC2 instances. I chose a micro, so they're both ready. And now if I go to my EC2, right now these are, because I created my subnet, I should be able to see these as EC2 instances. So if I go into my EC2 instance, my dashboard, and you can see that I already, so this is what it is. I just created a name for them, but this was all the cube prefixes are the ones I had manually created EC2 instances, and I created a cluster with master workers. But and these two are the worker nodes that just got created as part of my EKS. So this is a part of the EKS node group. And if I go to my cluster and if I do a get nodes on it, as you can see, I can clearly see that I have added two nodes. So now I can start deploying the workloads, and I can start running, right? So if I just do kubectl Nginx is created, and if I do kubectl get pods minus provide, right? And it's running already on one of the worker nodes. So it's and it's as simple as that. All the YAMLs that I have, I can start using those, and I can start deploying the stuff on the worker nodes. So that ends the session on EKS and the worker nodes.